Hello.
Good evening, and thanks everyone for showing up tonight. I would like to now recall to order the regular board meeting of November 25th, 2014. Mr. Doyle Burke, would you lead us in the pledge? Thank you. Members of the CEC who have substitutes tonight: for Jean Giovannini, Susie Polito, welcome. And for Linda Lujan at Chandler Gilbert, Bill Crawford, thank you. Our first item on the agenda is student life reports, and I'd like to invite the student government from Paradise Valley Community College, Geneva Patterson, starting off.
Sorry. Sorry, excuse the technical difficulty. Good evening, President Czar, members of the board, Dr. Glasper, CEC representatives, college presidents, MCCD, and community members. First off, on behalf of PVCC's student government and student body, we would like to congratulate the new members of the governing board, especially our board member representing District 3, Joanna Haver. My name is Geneva Patterson, and I am the president for Paradise Valley Community College Student Government. Today I have brought a few of my fellow council members to tell you more about PVCC's student involvement in diversity programming, engagement opportunities, and student advocacy. Now I'd like to first introduce Crystal and Oscar to speak about our PVCC diversity programs.
On November 12th, students were active participants in PVCC's first Diwali Festival of Lights. This event was a celebration of Indian culture that featured dance and musical performances, as well as educational displays from students.
Also, on November 20th, the PVCC Native Puma Club held the annual Native American History Celebration. This event has become a tradition at PVCC, and this year was highlighted by a dance performance that brought together our campus community.
In the spring, we are looking forward to supporting other diversity initiatives such as the Desperado LGBT Film Festival and the Lunar New Year celebration. Student leaders have been passionate about student engagement this semester, and to highlight our activities, let me introduce Xavius and David.
So, what makes PVCC special is the community that we are able to create and facilitate. During the recent luncheon with the Higher Learning Commission, which we will talk about later, students discussed how PVCC makes students feel and how they belong at PVCC, and how PVCC has a strong community.
A few efforts that have been particularly successful are the Campus Activities Team, or CAP for short, and the Spirit Events, seen up the upper left-hand corner. Now, the Campus Activities Team is a student-led group that provides weekly activities for students to make connections with other students. Outdoor events like playing flag football to everyday indoor events such as Pictionary over lunch have helped students create relationships in a casual social environment. Spirit events such as Spirit Fest and Puma Palooza, which are co-sponsored by clubs, give students much-needed study breaks during the midpoint in each semester.
This past year's effort to increase the number of involvement events has obviously been a huge success and has been very well received. Along with our new student government-run game room, student leaders are constantly busy creating a welcoming and energetic environment on campus. Finally, student government is committed to being the voice of the student body, and this semester has been an exciting one. I'd like to introduce to you Leah and Jorge to discuss the ways that students have represented their peers to college officials.
In October, Stuga hosted their event, Conversation with Administration. Administrators, including the college president, vice presidents, and dean of students, were in attendance and listened to students discuss issues ranging from student opportunities to how to market the college to the community.
In November, student leaders had the opportunity to meet with members of the Higher Learning Commission's visiting team to reaffirm PVCC's accreditation. During two separate luncheons, student leaders from across campus engaged with the visitors by sharing their Puma pride and what makes our college truly a special place for our students.
Student leaders continue to advocate for students through our new program of monthly survey events called Pizza with Pause. At these events, student government receives important survey information for the college in exchange for a free slice of pizza with a side of school pride. Results of these surveys will be shared in the spring conversation with administration, and they are also taken into account for future activities as well as major campus decisions. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the PVCC student leaders. We sincerely appreciate your support as students at Paradise Valley Community College, and we hope you enjoy a restful Thanksgiving weekend and the rest of your night. Thank you.
And all students can take Thursday and Friday off. As well as staff, I suppose. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is 4.1. We have some awards, emeritus awards. Dr. Olson first. I saw all those things sitting in front of her. Dr. Kovla.
May I approach
Yes,
the
you may.
podium? If the board would allow, I'd like to ask Dr. Janet Langley to help me, my Vice President for Academic Affairs. And here she is.
If you need help, you will.
She appears.
President Saar, members of the governing board, Chancellor Glasper, members of CEC, and honored guests. Tonight is a special night for Glendale Community College as we present 5 outstanding recommendations to the board for an emeritus status for faculty who have dedicated themselves to the college and to the Maricopa District. Each in their own right has done just an outstanding job over a variety of tasks, challenges, let alone the excellent teaching that they've done in the classroom. I'm going to let Dr. Langley start with the first 2 recommendations.
First one is Marla DeSoto.
I'm good, thank you.
I'm going to read a little bit about you, okay? Okay. Professor Marla DeSoto has a substantive record of scholarly achievement commensurate with the national standards within the English discipline, has a recognized record of outstanding teaching and educational contributions, and demonstrates clear evidence of service to Glendale Community College's main campus and GCC North beyond normal expectations. As a teacher of English and educational technology, she soon rose to the highest ranks as a well-respected scholar in these areas. Professor DeSoto is not limited to scholarly arenas. She has also contributed in essential ways to curricular development, instructional innovation, and departmental matters. She developed and delivered the first ENG 101 online course for GCC and assisted others in creating their online courses. She has also created the English, Reading, and Journalism Department website, maintained it throughout her service. She has served as a lead teacher at GCC North and was responsible for instituting the Writing Center to assist students with their English needs. In her 20 years within our department, she has helped bring the GCC program to its current exceptional status. Her active mentoring of students ensures that they, too, have an understanding of not only the issues germane to English scholarship, but also the many issues that they face as they enter the professional world. She has been an exemplary mentor to colleagues throughout her career. Students and peers reap the benefits of her professionalism and dedication to her field. As a result of her contributions, her students and colleagues credit her with raising the general level of discourse and inquiry in the field. Marla DeSoto, throughout her career, effectively expanded the civic education of thousands of students, showed great initiative and leadership in fulfilling her academic responsibilities, and enhanced the reputation of GCC by significantly expanding the community's knowledge of the college and district. Colleagues in the English, Reading, and Journalism Department enthusiastically support Professor DeSoto's recommendation for emeritus status.
Thank you. This is such an honor. That's quite a bit to live up to. And actually, GCC has given me so much and just created such a life for me personally that I hope I have given back to them as much as this indicates. This is very flattering, very flattering. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. DeSoto, for your many years of service.
Ms. Rita McCarthy? Sure. Professor Rita McCarthy's contribution to students and faculty in the Maricopa Community College District warrants the designation of emeritus status upon her retirement from Glendale Community College. She served over 25 years at GCC as a dedicated professional in the English department, where she taught many courses in ESL curriculum, developmental reading, and critical reading courses. She carries the important L1 literacy designation. Besides being a highly effective teacher within these courses, Ms. McCarthy was a regular contributor to the design and essential methodology of these pivotal courses. The development ultimately led her to the creation of widely used textbooks in the developmental and critical thinking areas of those disciplines. Her Reading and All That Jazz, a developmental reading textbook, in collaboration with Dr. Peter Mather, became a widely used text for those courses. The Art of Critical Reading text also became a mainstay for the Critical 101 reading course. We can find no prohibitive factors to deny Ms. McCarthy emeritus status, since her contributions to GCC and the disciplines she taught has been very significant and have also added a great deal to the community of the college beyond GCC. You're welcome.
I'd just like to say that I'm deeply grateful for this honor, and I'm especially grateful for being allowed to teach for 28 years. I had a job that I tap danced to work every day. It was a wonderful experience, and thank you all for that. Thank you.
Next, we have Elizabeth B.J. Jacobs. Professor Elizabeth B.J. Jacobs' contributions to students and faculty in the Maricopa Community College District warrant the designation of emeritus status upon her retirement. She has served 31 years at Glendale Community College as a dedicated adjunct, OSO, OIO, and full-time faculty member for 23 years. During her full-time years, she turned the psychology lab into the life science multipurpose lab to serve the technology needs of both psychology and biology students at GCC. At various times during her years, BJ served as advisor for Students Against Drunk Driving, SAD, chartered the GCC chapter of Psi Beta, the National Honor Society for Psychology at the community and junior colleges, and established the GCC North Psychology Club on the North Campus. All three of these organizations were dedicated to community service and community education. Most recently, in March of 2014, GCC North Psychology Club was invited to participate in the Arizona Science Center's Brain Awareness Week. The students put together a titled game, What's Best for My Brain?, to help the children learn how to protect and grow healthy brains. In addition to the goals of community service and education, from its inception and under BJ's tutelage for 6 years, Psi Beta members conducted and presented student research at national conferences where they garnered many student research awards over the years. Elizabeth was awarded the Psi Beta Virginia Stunt Sexton National Faculty Advisor of the Year in 22. She also served the GCC Faculty Senate and MCCCD Ocatello Community, conducted psych advisement seminars for psychology students, chaired and served on the GCC Technology Committee, participated in the original Psychology 2+2 Committee, and with ASU, was the webmaster for the psychology department and the 2003 Multiple Intelligence Learning for Understanding Institute. She's tutored statistics. She served on the Psychology Instructional Committee and performed in the famous Faculty Follies with Steve Cooper, Duane Reeder, and Betsy Cooper. Congratulations to BJ.
Thank you. I'm exhausted listening to that. been an honor to serve Maricopa Colleges. It's, you know, as they say, if you love your job, you never work a day in your life, and that's how it's always been for me. And I want more. So if you have any classes, give me a call.
Next, we have Dr. Ruth Callahan. Professor Ruth Callahan's contribution to students and faculty in the Maricopa Community College District warrants the designation of emeritus status upon her retirement. She served for over 20 years at GCC as a dedicated professional in the English department, where she taught many courses in the honors program, humanities, and developmental writing. Her passion for knowledge was enthusiastically shared with students. In addition, Dr. Callahan developed and taught Introduction to the Holocaust at the GCC main campus and in Prague, Czech Republic. Her academic excellence was recognized in the outside community as well. Dr. Ruth Callahan received the 2013 Shofar Zachor Award from the Holocaust Survivors Association for implementing the experiences of survivors and their testimonies into her classroom and beyond. And a personal note, she was an aficionado and continues to be of the opera. And she encouraged students and encouraged her president to go with them one night. And we had a ball, didn't we? And it was such a great experience. Many of them had never been downtown Phoenix. Most of them had never seen an opera. That's Dr. Ruth Callahan. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Like everybody else has said already, it has been an honor teaching at GCC. I think one of the things that's most enjoyable about Maricopa is that there's room to develop a bit. Room to develop courses, room to stretch yourself, and room to have a little bit of fun now and then. And as for dragging people off to the opera, it's one of those things. I got kind of a cold eye when I said we should take people. But the very first year, we sold more than I think it was about 180 tickets. And the people who have taken over my place, now that I'm gone, they're going too. So this wasn't an ad for the opera, it's an ad for Maricopa. And to the people who are sitting here saying, do what you want to do, they'll let you do it in your own time, but then you'll get to do it for real. Thank you.
Thanks, Ruth. And last but not least, this is a posthumous award for Rodney Brooker, and I'd like to invite his twin brother, Ron, here to the podium. Professor Rodney Brooker's contributions to students and faculty in the Maricopa College Community District warrants the designation of posthumous emeritus status. He served for 26 years as a dedicated accounting faculty member of the Business and Information Technology Department at Glendale Community College. Rod was a certified public accountant and earned undergraduate and MBA degrees at Arizona State University. Rod kept his CPA license active with career development courses and other courses that he felt important to his teaching at GCC. Rod was also active in a variety of organizations in the Valley. Both Rod and Ron, a fellow faculty member from Paradise Valley Community College, were active in the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry and was active in a variety of community service projects. Rod joined the U.S. Army Reserve as a commissioned second lieutenant, trained as a medic, and later retired as a lieutenant colonel. Many students credit Rod for sending them in the right direction regarding accounting and used him as a mentor even after completing his class. He knew the names of staff along with their families and their interests. A true GCC citizen who took great pride in the college, its students, the staff, and the contribution it made to the community. And we're delighted Ron is here to accept this award on his behalf.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Rod's passing was a major surprise. And we are identical twins. Neither of us had ever married, not that you want to know all of our personal business, but we lived together, and I was telling my students today that I kind of have an understanding about a married couple who have been married 50 or 60 years, and one of the spouses passes away, and what that person, the surviving spouse, is going through. My life has changed. We had developed a bad habit, both being kind of early morning persons, and we'd get up at 4 and sit in the living room in somewhat darkness and drink 2 cups of coffee and talk about things that were going on at our campuses and in the district, and things that had happened in the news that we saw, and and then in the afternoons when we got home, we'd kind of repeat that, but we weren't drinking the coffee, but we would sit and talk. And I don't have those experiences. And I really miss that. And I used to, it's not very nice, and I can't say it completely, but I would say that he was well, it's a 7-letter word that refers to your posterior. But he was my person. And anyway, I miss him. So, thank you very much.
Congratulations to all of our award winners tonight. I'm sure there's somebody left at GCC. No, it's very special to have those types of people who have served our district for so long. And we hope that they enjoy their retirement, although some I know are looking forward to becoming another element of our district as an adjunct, and we appreciate them coming back and continuing to serve our students. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is an award from SRP. And Ms. Thompson, do you have this one?
Mr. President, members of the board, over the last couple of decades, the district has made a very significant commitment to making our systems as energy efficient as possible and our processes as well. And in the course of that work, there have been a number of awards that the district has received. I'd like at this time to ask permission for Arlen Solacek, who's the Associate Vice Chancellor for Capital Development, to come forward and share a recent recognition.
Mr. Sauer, members of the board, Dr. Glasper, members of CEC, and guests tonight, we're really excited to be able to tell the board that Maricopa Community Colleges were recognized this year as Salt River Project's Champion of Energy Efficiency in the higher education category. With me tonight, Ken Farnsworth and Ken Calto. Brett Garwood, the third of our group, couldn't be here tonight. He's taking a well-deserved vacation. I get a lot of the credit and probably too much of the credit for the program, but these are the 3 guys that are saving the district millions of dollars every year in their work for energy efficiency. And we owe a lot of the awards and certainly a lot of the savings to their work. This award it's the first year of this program, which is intended to provide and recognize outstanding participants in SRP's commercial energy efficiency program and recognize businesses that implement new technologies, institute behavioral change, and provide paths for energy efficiency and partnerships. I would like to play a very quick video. For each one of the winning organizations, they produced about a 2-minute video.
SRP proudly recognizes Maricopa Community Colleges for participating in the SRP Commercial Rebate Program. MCC reduced its annual energy usage by more than 1 million kilowatt hours. That's enough energy to power 60 homes for a full year.
Internally, we like to say we're the greatest story never told. We sort of quietly go about saving money for the district, which is a good thing, and it's good for our taxpayers. It's certainly good for our students. The biggest users of energy on our campuses and in a lot of facilities are the central plants, and particularly chillers and the large pumps. We've been able to buy equipment that either has built-in variable frequency drives like the chillers and optimizing what we do with our equipment and systems. We've also been able to take advantage of a lot of the rebates and a lot of the offers we get from SRP, like the recommissioning, to extend what we can do and extend the investment that we make. It's a tremendous honor for the Community College District to be nominated to receive this kind of recognition from the outside community, and particularly our utility partners, is just a real wonderful affirmation of the effort that we've made.
Congratulations to Maricopa Community Colleges, the 2014 Colleges and Universities winner for the Champions of Energy Efficiency Awards, presented by SRP.
We managed to get a great plug-in for Gateway and Dr. Gonzalez. We needed a location that showed something that looked like energy efficiency. We were able to use the Johnson Controls Institute lab as a background, but it was very clear that this was an effort from all of our colleges. This does match a 2009 award from APS that also recognized the district as Energy Champions and one of their better clients, as well as a number of awards from the governor and other state offices recognizing our program. So it's another really fine recognition of what we've been able to do here for the district.
Thank you very much. I had a chance to look at the underneath of the new Coyote Center in Chandler Gilbert, and the technology is unbelievable compared to what it was 5 or 10 years ago in our facilities, and the use of combined use of solar and natural gas and all the other elements. I know. So I thank all of you that are involved in our energy efficiency efforts for doing the job right.
Thank you.
Before we go into the citizens interim, I'd like to take a minute or two to introduce our newly elected board members. If I could have them stand, I know not everybody likes to do that, but I'll do it anyway. Representing District 4 is Gene McGrath. Thank you. John Heap is one of our 2 at-large members. Welcome, John. And Tracy Livingston over here. And welcome to all 3 of you. We're going to make some adjustments in who sits up here in our January meeting, so sorry for the 2 N people. But we will have places for them as well. Moving on to the citizens interim. We have 3 people on the list for tonight. I'll start with the first one that was received by us, is Diane Post, representing yourself. Diane?
Board presidents and Chancellor, my name is Diane Post. I'm a former faculty at Phoenix College, a former student, and a regular user of the fitness center. Regarding the proposed closing of the fitness center, the first problem was notice. Notice was not given to all of the users, and it was given very sporadically in some unknown fashion. I don't know how it got to be given to certain people and not others. The second problem are the priorities regarding the use of a fitness center. I sent you a letter on the 14th of October and talked about the issue of the obesity, growing obesity in the United States, the diabetes in the United States, the rising healthcare costs, the aging of our country, and how everyone knows that fitness is extremely important and health is extremely important. Those should be priorities, and Phoenix College and Maricopa Community Colleges should be a leader in that, should not be closing fitness centers. Because of the proposed closing, I did a public records request, and I asked for all of the information that was given to the team that made this decision. I received 23 pages. If, in fact, 23 pages is all that the decision makers had, then I would suggest that your decision making and your analysis is severely flawed. I was sent information on only two particular programs, the athletic department and the fitness center non-credit students. Not even the credit students, only the non-credit fitness centers. That was all the information that I got. Looking at the data and the costs that were in those reports, the decision seems pretty obvious. One of the things that many of those on, whoever was on that committee that made the decision repeatedly said is we did not get enough information. We did not get understandable information. We did not get the information that we requested in order to make a good recommendation. But in spite of that, they went ahead and made their recommendations, and their recommendation was not to close the fitness center by the majority of the people. And if you look at the cost and the data, you can see obviously why that is so. If you look at the FTSE, if you look at the number and the percentage of students using those two programs, and if you look at the cost-benefit analysis and the gains and the losses in those programs, you will see what the decision should have been, but instead the opposite was made. All of these, the figures, the FTSE, et cetera, are detailed in the letter which I gave to you, and all of you should have a copy of it. So we would argue that the decision-making process is extremely flawed. I heard about the proposed closing, actually, ironically, in the car on my radio on NPR on the way to the fitness center. And what I heard was that a proposal had been made to close the football program, but that was unilaterally rejected. Now, it wasn't rejected because of public opinion, because no public opinion had had time to form. So we don't understand why that proposal was rejected when it's a very small percentage of people that use that program. But obviously, the process was not followed. If a process was set up to make these decisions based on certain criteria, then that process should have been followed. And if this unilateral decision was made right off the bat when the first recommendations came out, obviously it wasn't followed. So because of an article that appeared in the Arizona Republic saying there was an audit and that there was a cost-benefit analysis, I did a second public records request asking for that, and I was told that there was no cost-benefit analysis. How can you make such an important decision that affects so much of the community without a cost-benefit analysis? Apples were compared to oranges in these particular reports that I did see. There were some questions about how were monies allocated from the Silver Sneakers program and from the for-credit program and from the not-for-credit program. The numbers of students at the fitness center were not counted in this analysis. There were about 900 of the non-credit and 2,500 of the credit. Why were they not counted in this analysis? The policy considerations were not taken into consideration, the diabetes, the obesity, the need for fitness in this country. In a related decision, apparently the child care center was also axed. And I would say that this is again an attack on the most vulnerable people that you are supposed to serve as a community college. The poor women who go to school cannot go without child care. And this is the very community that you should be serving, not the community that you should be cutting. So this is the public that pays for these services with your tax dollars. We were not consulted in this decision at all. So what I recommend is that the board reconsider the process, the people, and the product. The process was definitely flawed. The priorities are wrong. The community was not consulted. The money is unexplained as to how it was allocated, and the result is discriminatory. We know with the shortage of money, you have to make difficult decisions, but you must make them wisely based on complete and honest information and communication with the community that you are to serve. Such did not happen here, and we ask that you start over again with a complete, full, and fair process, taking into account the facts, the figures, and the community needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Maria Jimenez. Go ahead.
Okay. My name is Maria Guzman Jimenez. I like Miss Diane. I'm a student at Phoenix College, and I make regular use of the fitness center. Now, the way in which I was presented with this information was during I think it was an interview by Channel 3. Now, when I was told about this, she presented me with the whole proposition, the paper that said that the suggestion that was given, which was to close down the fitness room. Now she told me, what do you think? And I was pretty clear. I was actually shocked about this. They took my first reaction as, this is not possible. I really never thought this would actually happen. Because every time I go to the fitness center, there is so many people in there. I think that the first reason I attended the Phoenix Community College was because when I first was considering my choices as to school-wise, I could have gone to ASU. But I would have thought, well, ASU is so big. First of all, it's so big, so many students. I think that there's not so much as personal communications that you make there. It's more likely to make them in a smaller, more concise section, a school.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking that Phoenix College is smaller. It gives us all these friendly faculty. They're really nice. They make personal connections with you, and that's what I found when I enrolled in the fitness center. I used to take boot camp in the morning, and I was, you know what? I think I'll try fitness center. It gives you a flexible hours. It has so many good how would you say this? Instructors. They're really good people. They make us feel welcome. Now, I did read about the statistics and all the amount of money and all those letters the letter that you received. I received as well, and I read it. I do consider it somewhat unfair that 2%, roughly 2% of students are served by the athletics program, when like 24 or 20 something more, considerably more percent of students benefit from the other programs that were also suggested as to shut down. Now, in America, I don't want to throw any statistics out there because I'm pretty sure you are all as educated and know all these statistics or might actually have a pretty good idea of what they are. America has so many teen moms. So many moms that need a place to have their children taken care of while they're getting an education. America is supposed to try to, my parents brought me here, when they came here, they wanted a better education for me, a better life. Now America is centered upon for me, the idea of making a better life, of getting an education, of getting a better job. Now, how do we expect all these women that have children to do this? If they have this one area where they can take their children to be taken care of, is vanished, doesn't exist. Now, I think, like I said, I really find it really unfair that we are considered, that the fitness center and that the children's place is taken in consideration as to diminish it, because I think that you should first look at like Miss Diane said, take a consideration all the costs. I was an athlete for once. I really do understand the importance of having something to push you towards your education. Athletes, they have this program, you have to get your A's, you have to get your B's, C's, passing grades. They make you want to go to school. That I was there once. But I'm just thinking that if you really place the cards on the table and say 12% to 20-something%, I think that the priority is 20-something%. So as to, mainly, I really think that you guys really should consider your decision. I'm sorry if I was yelling into the microphone. I've never been on. I hate public speaking.
Thank you.
I hate it, but anyways, thank you.
You did fine. And next we have Leah Dustin Hall.
President Starr, members of the board, Chancellor Glasper, members of the CEC, and guests. My name is Leah Dustin Hall, and I am the current PSA president. On this evening, I would like to address the governing board and to bring you up to date about the activities that have taken place since July. Over the past few months, members of the Professional Staff Association and Executive Board took an active position to review the established processes and operational practices that have assisted in the progression of this organization. Actions that have taken place include working on processes and bylaws for the organization, implementation of the Executive Board Code of Conduct, drafting of an organization plan that will address the voting structure, the size of PSA, standing committees, communication, and culture. The PSA Board continues to visit campuses in order to discuss and address the aspirations of the membership at large. The climate of PSA continues to move in the organization forward. The interest of the PSA members is to remain a pillar within the MCCD organization, to continue to support student success, and to be an advocate for the professional staff employee group. Thank you for the opportunity to share on this evening.
Thank you. Moving on to number 6, the Chancellor's Report. Dr. Glasper.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, tonight I have one item, and it's the Chancellor's nonprofit roundtable. This I wanted to share with you, and you have in front of you a summary of the November 6th Chancellor's nonprofit roundtable. This is one in a series of at least 7 roundtables that I have conducted within the last 4 months. And I have had roundtables in the areas of manufacturing, healthcare, nonprofit, and a number of different partnership areas that the district currently has. What I wanted to point out was through the course of approximately 2 hours, I have an opportunity to sit with individuals, and the average number of the groups is anywhere between 35 and 45 individuals. And the summary of this basically tells you what some of the questions that I'm asking. It's an exchange with the nonprofit leaders here in the Valley, and we ask different questions. And if you can see from the first one there is, what about the size, scope, and structure of our district surprised you the most? Many are unaware of the size of the Maricopa Community Colleges and the breadth of which we cover in terms of the 9,200 square miles of our district, and that our high point in terms of enrollment in this district was at about 275,000 students, and we currently serve approximately 263,000 now. They are really surprised that many of our colleges are connected. They don't understand the evolution of our system, so I give them kind of a 50-year evolution from the establishment of the district in 1962. And the 2 colleges that were added at that particular time were Glendale and Mesa, but we then had Phoenix College in 1920, which is a flagship, Dr. Sully. But what I wanted to share with us, that they were impressed by the fact that we are looking for solutions to the fact that we are a large district, and they were very surprised at the reduction of state funding that we've had during the recession. I've continued to mention that at our high point prior to the recession and early on in our district, approximately 1986-87, the district was at a 27% share, and today we stand at approximately 1%. We have been as low as 0.6%, and we would anticipate to go down even further if the state cannot balance its resources beyond the structural balance, the financial balancings that they have on an annual basis, but they never have a structural balance. In addition to that, they are encouraging us to continue the One Maricopa approach to providing services. Over 60,000 students in our district attend more than one Maricopa college before they leave our system. So they like the fact that we're looking at standardizing processes across our system, and that the experience for our students in admissions and financial aid and others will essentially be the same. The level of quality, expectations of service, and so forth. They also applauded us for the level of workforce and technical competencies of our students. But they asked us if we would help them address one of the areas that many of our corporations and partners talk about, and that is working and enhancing the soft skills of the employees, the students that come to them as employees. And I recently had an opportunity about 2 weeks ago to visit the National Endowment for the Arts. What's happening across the country, and many of you know that humanities programs in our 4-year institutions are being reduced. And they're being reduced because there is a focus on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, and their relationship to jobs, and not on STEAM. What happens to the arts, and how does the arts impact the individual's ability to be, to have a richer experience in higher education. And you heard earlier about the individuals going to the art programs, going to the opera and others. I just think it provides a great experience. While I was at the National Endowment for the Humanities, I talked to them about some of the questions and comments that I had received from the corporations and the need for us to try and find those soft skills. What they proffered to me was an opportunity for us to help build what I would describe as a stackable credential that can be presented to the National Endowment on the Humanities, and they would consider credentialing that particular set of stackable curriculum that would lead to an understanding and an alignment to any technical degree that we would have, and in essence serve as an endorsement on the soft skills in terms of supporting Socratic thinking and looking for solutions and all of the necessary steps that we look for when we hire someone to come into our employment, hoping that they will be able to succeed and move into management or in other leadership roles within the organization. In addition to that, the group talked about the fact that they would like to use our facilities more, that we need to partner more, that nonprofits are experiencing some of the same types of financial issues during the recession, post-recession, as many of us are, and that in order for us to provide services in our community, that they were intrigued about my notion of empowerment zones, and that is having community colleges. We have 34 locations around the valley. If we take these empowerment zones and the community college serves as the center, then we can bridge services with nonprofit agencies, YMCAs, and utilize different facilities and relationships so that we can stretch our dollars further and we can bring in partners who understand our mission, want to be engaged in our mission, and will help us broaden our mission as well. The other piece talked about wanting to have more time with our presidents and wanting to have more time with our leadership, including the chancellor. So we are going to be scheduling some annual informal discussions in order for us to better understand the needs of our community. And I would also like to encourage our employees and others to think about another program I recommended about 8 or 9 years ago. And that's the service learning component that we have for our students. But the program that I requested and we have in play is called Maricopa Learns Through Service. And this is for our employees. I think it would really be beneficial for us to get to know the community-based agencies, nonprofit agencies in the service areas of which we serve, and that our employees should have an opportunity to volunteer in those areas and to bring back to us and help us build better programs, better services, and better connections with our community. But I wanted to give you this executive summary so that you could see what some of the comments are and some of the areas that I will be focusing on as I continue to bridge our community engagement and to enhance our One Maricopa approach to community service and education for our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Mr. Glasper, I have a question. I've always been an advocate of having the community welcome on our campus and utilize campus facilities when possible. How can we do that better? Because right now, you have to have an education. If they want to meet on our campus, it has an educational component. I think we have some legal restraints on use of facility.
Well, we have policy constraints, and it's essentially, and the legal component would be we cannot provide a gift of public funds. But that's why I'm encouraging our volunteer programs and connections with our colleges to community-based agencies, because our students and our faculty and staff, for example, I talk about our community, our service learning programs now. Our students are required to have service learning experiences in each of our programs before they graduate or before they get a certificate or move on. To me, those serve as community connections, and that's a linkage, and as long as we have a district sponsor, then we can utilize these facilities. It's not 100% usage, but it definitely can be utilized at times then where it's still being heated and cooled and it's within the work hour of our system. So I think this is something we should look at.
I agree. I concur, and my working with the presidents is they've all been very cooperative and responding to community needs and wanting to build partnerships and inclusion in all levels, in use of facilities and working with them with staff.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chancellor. Next on the agenda is the Faculty Executive Council. Keith Hefner.
President Saar, members of the board, Dr. Glasper, members of the CEC, and guests. As we are now post-election for the governing board elections, I'd like to welcome the new incoming governing board members and thank board members Mr. Lum and Ms. Pearson for their years of service and commitment to the students of the Maricopa Community College District, its employees, and the community we serve. We thank you for your service. Thank you. The faculty look forward to meeting with the new board members, Ms. Livingston, Ms. McGrath, Ms. Haver, and Mr. Heap, and Mr. Gutierrez, he's continuing in his role. Congratulations to all, when they visit the colleges next semester. We also look forward to scheduling a conversation with the governing board to have an opportunity to share the faculty perspective on topics like shared governance, academic freedom, interest-based negotiation, or IBN, and any topics the board would like to discuss within this context. We also want to tell you that we're continuing in our commitment to be engaged partners with employee groups and administration in the spirit of cooperation and positive advancement for the good of the mission of the district. For example, we have been meeting regularly with the Adjunct Faculty Association leadership to create lists of shared interest, the purpose of which is to create some options to help adjunct faculty be more efficient, more successful in their roles at the colleges. Some of those examples of interest are onboarding orientation materials made available to them, time and space to meet with students, colleagues, and prepare for classes, a stronger voice to provide feedback in some decision-making processes, meaningful assessments, feedback, increased access to current information and college contacts and resources. And on behalf of the Faculty Association, we wish you and yours a happy Thanksgiving holiday. Thank you so much. Bye.
And from our Adjunct Faculty Association, Mr. Leo Valverde.
President Saar, members of the board, Dr. Glasper, members of the CEC family, guests, and friends, I am Leo Valverde. I'm the president of the Adjunct Faculty Association, and I'd simply like to report on what we're thankful for. First of all, we are thankful for the entire district, not just for providing us with some income and the opportunity to teach, but truly the opportunity to touch and change the lives of students and the community, not just here, but everywhere. We are thankful for Dr. Glasper, his vision, his leadership. I'd like to personally thank Vice Chancellor Shelton Johnson and Harper Marinick for their continued support, their regular support of us, and also frank conversations is what can be done by and for adjunct faculty. I'd also like to thank, on behalf of all the adjunct faculty, this MCLI, Dr. Cox and Don Bobadilla Jensen, who have been tireless in helping us learn about different opportunities where we can learn, providing us with the funds to make certain trips, but also planning events where we can better ourselves and grow as professionals. We are also thankful to the Faculty Association for seeing us as equals and treating us as such. We are thankful to each and every college for providing us with orientations, the office space that we do have, the supplies, and the centers for teaching and learning, which are invaluable to us as we perform our jobs. To division chairs and department chairs who invite us to faculty meeting, who include us in decisions regarding curriculum, textbooks, and just on subject matters. Invitations are a wonderful thing, and we are thankful for that. And lastly, we are thankful to the students who do not see us with a tag as contingent, adjunct, part-time, or someone passing through, who see us for what we are, educators. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you who spoke tonight. Now we'll move on to the approval of the order of the agenda for tonight. Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. An item before we start, we have 2 meetings every month, and the first meeting of the month is to hash over all of these items that you'll hear us talk about tonight. So even though it may look like we are blasting through this, we've spent many hours along with staff to make sure that the agenda items meet our needs and the needs of the district. So with that in mind, do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve tonight's consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Item number 14 on the non-consent agenda list is the approval of settlement of Paradise Valley Community College's Project Ayuda dispute. Dr. Glasper.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, after a number of years of discussion with the federal government, it is recommended that the governing board authorize the chancellor or his designee to execute document necessary to resolve the case of U.S. versus Maricopa Community College District et al., a case number in the United States District Court for Arizona, and to disperse payments of up to $4.5 million in the aggregate in accordance with the terms of the agreement.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion?
I move we approve this item.
Second.
Excuse me, motion's been made and seconded to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item number 14.2, approval of authorization of increased expenditure and extension of contract for web remediation consulting services. Dr. Glasper.
Mr. Sarr, members of the board, I would like to ask Mr. Ed Kelty if he would address these 2 items, please. This item and the subsequent item.
Mr. President, members of the board, and the CEC and guests, this is an extension of the contract with Eagle Creek to continue to maintain and edit our websites. We are completing the first round of web remediation that occurred or was created with our incident back in 2013. Beyond that, there were a number of websites and systems that were not part of that system, and we're using Eagle Creek to continue moving everything we have at the district office into our secure environment. I'm looking at hiring a couple web developers internally, and as we do that, we'll use Eagle Creek less and less, but it's good to have a backup when we get a large volume of work.
Any questions for Mr. Kelty? Thank you. Hanging in for the next one. Do I hear a motion?
I move approval.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item is the excuse me, approval of final contract amendment for the construction, back up one. Approval of authorization of increased expenditure and extension of contract for web security consulting services.
Mr. President, again, members of the board, we've been using Bishop Fox to help us work through our web security and internet security issues within the ITS. We also are looking to extend this contract not only to have them help us with any issues that we're currently working on, but also to start our annual audit of our infrastructure every year. We'll be doing that late next year.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Kelty? Thank you very much. Again, we've had discussions for weeks on this, so I appreciate the input from staff. We have a motion to approve the authorization of increased expenditure and extension of contract for web security consulting services.
I move approval.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item is number 15.1, approval of final contract amendment for the construction of the new integrated learning building at Paradise Valley Community College Black Mountain Campus. Ms. Thompson.
Mr. President, members of the board, this is a project that's part of the 2004 bond program that the voters approved, and it is to construct an approximately 21,000 square foot building for science classrooms, labs, general use computer classrooms, learning support testing center, and faculty and staff workspace, and we recommend its approval.
Okay. Do we hear a motion?
I move we approve this item.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item 15.2, approval of guaranteed maximum price amendment to the remodel of Agave Hall at Chandler Gilbert Community College. Ms. Thompson.
Mr. President, members of the board, this also is part of our 2004 bond program, and it will modify Agave Hall from existing offices, student services, and fitness center areas to provide classrooms and spaces for the Performing Arts Center that's nearby, and it will complement those spaces in the Performing Arts Center, and we recommend its approval.
I move approval.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the guaranteed maximum price amendment to remodel Agave Hall at Chandler Gilbert Community College. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item is the approval of partial guaranteed maximum price number 1 for construction of the T3 Automotive Building at Glendale Community College. Ms. Thompson.
Mr. President and members of the board, this also is part of our 2004 bond program. Originally, this project was to be a remodel of the existing facility. However, as the project advanced, it was determined that it would be more cost-effective and better for the college and its program to demolish the existing old facility and construct a new 33,400 gross square foot building that will best meet the current needs for this sort of program.
I move we approve this item.
Your second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded for the approval of a partially guaranteed maximum price number 1 for construction of the T3 Automotive Building at Glendale Community College. Any discussion?
I'm excited about these changes in the community of Glendale and looking forward to an awesome prepared building and equipment for automotive training.
You know, I concur. We've been working with the Automobile Dealers Association here in the Valley forever, and one of the things they're always asking us to do is modernize our training facilities to bring them up to the standards that the students would have when they go to work in their dealerships. And the change in this particular plan brings us to that level, I think, and I appreciate the ability for us to make better use of our funds and space that we have for these kind of programs. Motions are made and seconded for the approval of a partial guaranteed maximum price number 1 for construction of the T3 Automotive Building at Glendale Community College. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to number 16, approval of authorization for required changes to the human resource system and hosting. Ms. Thompson.
Shelton Johnson.
Well, I thought so, but it says Ms.
Unless you'd like to take it for me. Thank you, President Starr, members of the board. This item is requesting authorization for fund expenditure to make the necessary changes to the human resources management system and hosting. This is the final component to the ERP systems package that was presented to the board and approved in March and April of this year. There was a line item for HRMS, however, we did not yet have the costing information. We've since obtained that information and are now requesting and recommending approval to expend the funds. This upgrade will be covered by current revenues with the exception of any future-oriented upgrades. The primary benefit to this upgrade is significantly enhancing security by moving to the cloud environment. Also, we will realize some efficiencies of scale in a very one Maricopa fashion by moving to a more vanilla environment, removing approximately the 70% of the customizations currently in the system.
Good. We'll hear a motion.
I move approval.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded for approval. Any discussion?
As I recall in previous discussions, this is because our current system is being phased out. It won't be supported any longer. Is that right? We're going for a new system?
Mr. Burke and members of the board, that is partially correct in that we've been unable to take advantage of the updates from the vendor. So at some point in the not too distant future, they will cease to support the version we have.
Okay. Thanks.
And this now becomes more of an off-the-shelf product that we're using, so that any more enhancements that we get that everybody else that uses this gets, we'll also get.
President Starr, we will be able to take advantage of the updates provided by the vendor, correct. The customizations that we have now, because it's so highly customized, we've been unable to take advantage of those.
Mr. President, the term customize usually connotates something positive, that someone went out of the way to enhance the product. In this case, you're using the word customization in precisely the opposite fashion, aren't you?
Yes,
It means something bad happened. to
it
this
does.
system. 70% of the time,
Right.
this poor system.
It is, yes. Mr. Gutierrez, that's a very good point. Because of the heavily customized system, not only we cannot take advantage of the updates, but there's also a lot of interconnectedness behind the scenes that we're unaware of because of the customizations happening year after year. So we may go in to make a seemingly innocuous change, but it may have some unintended consequences as a result of the customization.
And we all know that nothing in human resources or taxes or payroll changes.
It all depends.
All right, sorry about that. Motions are made and seconded for the approval and authorization for required changes to our human resources system and hosting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next is the information and first reads. The Chancellor, approval of proposed amendments to the employee group policies. This is a first read, and we've had discussions of it actually again tonight. Any questions from members of the board? Hearing none. They'll go up to a second read and a vote at our next regularly scheduled meeting. Next item, 17.2, approval of proposed amendments to 4.5.4, the organization of the board. Dr. Glasper, you want me to do that, or?
Yes, that's.
Yeah. We've had discussions on this also. Any board members wish to comment before we do this?
No. Good.
Right. And we'll be on our next agenda in the next scheduled meetings, the next regularly scheduled meeting. Next item under business services, 18.1, budget analysis report for monitoring Fund 1, the general unrestricted fund for the 4 months ending October 31st, 2014. Ms. Thompson.
Mr. President, members of the board, this is a monthly report that we provide, and this is for the first quarter of the fiscal year. It looks at the general fund, which is our main operating budget, and it compares actual revenue receipts and also actual expenditures to budget and also to prior year periods. In terms of expenditures, because most of our expenditures are in payroll and we pay employees every 2 weeks, there's pretty steady increases from month to month in terms of our expenditures, and our expenditure patterns are in is very similar to prior years for that very reason. For revenues, we do have our major revenue sources come in mostly in October and November, and then also again in April and May. And if you notice that we've recognized 52.5% of our revenues to date, that's up from about 29% last month, because this was the first month of heavy revenue collections for property taxes. We expect to be on pace with meeting our financial stability requirement at the end of the year.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Thank you. Moving on to governing board reports. Mr. Burke.
Let's see. I was thinking about AADGB.
That's coming up.
Yes. I have no report.
Mr. Gutierrez.
Yeah, no report.
Lum.
I'd like to congratulate Jean McGrath for her election to the board. I'd like to congratulate the other new board members, and thank you for the time I spent here. It's been awesome. This is just a great district, and the main thing about it is the people, the faculty, the staff. They're so dedicated, always coming up with new and innovative ways to improve, and they don't only improve the students and each other, they improve anybody that comes to here, including myself and the board. So it's been a wonderful experience. I like to say it now because in December not too many people will be here at the next meeting, but it's been an awful experience, and I'm excited. I'm sure the new board members will do awesome and protect this district to keep it strong as it is. Thank you.
We expect a full house at the next meeting.
We're
I
gonna
just
give
want
gifts away.
I want to take a few minutes to thank everybody that was involved in the numerous different Veterans Affairs programs that I attended in the last month. We do a great job of working with our veterans and their spouses and families, And whether they're deployed or out of service, they have special needs, and I think our district, as we've been given awards for, does an excellent job of looking at the needs and making sure that we provide whatever we can for their success, both academically and personally as well. So thanks to all those members in our staff and students for the work they do for our veterans. Moving on to the internal reports, we have Ms. Johnson.
Thank you, President Sarr, members of the board. I just wanted to take this opportunity to share that I had the distinct honor and privilege of accepting a National Role Models Award on behalf of Maricopa earlier this year from Minority Access. Minority Access is a nonprofit organization committed to increasing diversity, decreasing disparities, and reducing incidences of environmental injustices, and they are based in Washington, D.C. This year, they recognized many other national role models, including faculty, administrators, and students from around the United States, including the Innovator of the Year Award, which went to Attorney General Eric Holder. Maricopa was selected for this award due to our unwavering commitment to diversity and recognizing and embracing differences, as evidenced by several initiatives derived from our diversity strategic plan, as well as our community outreach efforts and our employee-centered efforts, including our district-wide diversity coordinators and constituency groups. All of these efforts are in the spirit of One Maricopa and is a great representation of the work that goes on throughout the district.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Next, from Rio Salado College, we have President Chris Bustamante.
Yes, thank you, President Sarr, members of the board, Dr. Glasper, members of CEC, and guests. As many of you may know and may have read, Dr. Glasper and I had the privilege of welcoming Bill Gates to Rio Salado College on November 6th. The reason for the visit was because of our work on a Gates-funded project called Rio Achieve, which caught the attention of the senior leadership of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And consequently, they asked us to set up a series of meetings with administrators, faculty, and staff, along with students and members of my President's Advisory Council to meet with them while they were in Phoenix. 2 days prior to the visit, we learned that Mr. Gates would indeed be joining his team. They generally do not allow you knowledge of that for security purposes for 48 hours, until 48 hours before their visit. So it was quite a nice surprise. He came to get a first-hand account of the innovative work that we are doing and to see what we have been able to accomplish through our Rio Achieve grant. He not only came just for a few minutes, he came for 5.5 hours to do a deep dive of the college to see what we were doing. Rio Achieve is a $1 million initiative that you've heard a little bit about before, supported by a Gates Next Generation Learning Challenges grant. And I'm very proud of the Rio team for their dedicated efforts in developing our own and customized next generation high-touch tools within our learning management system, Rio Learn, that interestingly enough is a Microsoft platform that supports student persistence and completion. Rio Achieve has 5 distinctive elements designed and created by our own team. They include Rio Compass. It's an online interface or portal that helps students monitor their progress toward degree completion, access key resources, and communicate with a dedicated advisor. Giver is an intervention dashboard and stands for Guided Intervention and Response. It collects data from several areas of the college, such as calls to the help desk, grades or instructor notes, and then automatically alerts appropriate staff to implement an intervention. Rio Pace, our progress and course engagement system, is our own homegrown predictive analytics system, which tracks student login frequency, site engagement, and progress in an online course. GEAR is another system, and the acronym means a guided evaluation and assessment response. It is a faculty-developed technology-based solution that assists faculty in providing customized, personalized, and detailed feedback to students on their assessments. And the last element is the Student Success Help Desk. It's staffed with a Student Success Coordinator, dedicated advisors, and also Rio Achieve peer mentors who are current students and can relate to and help their peers to be successful in college, all within the Rio Learn LMS this is occurring. That's why Bill Gates came to see us. A highlight of the visit was when Mr. Gates and his leadership team had lunch with our Rio Achieve students. At lunch, our students shared how only students can do, very heartfelt and very real, how their assistance and encouragement from advisors, faculty, and staff helped them to keep working toward their educational goals. On Bill Gates' subsequent blog, Gates Notes, that went out to the world, he said that he came to Arizona to see what the college of the future might look like, which was quite a compliment to Rio. His blog is titled, Online, All Students Sit in the Front Row, as you can see on the screen. He looks quite happy there sitting next to students, and he featured that particular student. I'd like to share a short video from his blog that his folks created, where he shares a few of his thoughts about the future of higher education and the increased role that technology will need to play to help students complete college now and in the future. You will see the pictures that are all reflected in the video are from his visit to Rio. You will also hear from Sean Lee, one of our students who's in the picture here with Mr. Gates. He was most impressed with him. He lives on the Navajo Reservation and credits the flexibility of Rio's online programs and the encouragement from Rio Achieve advisors who have helped him achieve his goals and better not only his life, but the life of his family. Here's the short video on Bill's blog that I know you'll enjoy watching. It's just 2 or 3 minutes.
So we have a real dilemma. We have to educate more people in a better way without an increase in resources. And we're looking at a generation that's not better educated than the previous generation. The percentage of dropout is higher in the U.S. than almost any country in the world. The game changer, like it is in many areas, is the use of technology.
My name is Sean Lee, and I'm from Steamboat, Arizona. I'm enrolled with Rio Salado College. I take my classes online at my own home on the Navajo Reservation. Growing up on the reservation, resources were very limited, and out in a desolate area, you get used to it, and it just becomes your way of life. When I attended college, I was struggling being in the traditional classroom setting. Man, driving back and forth, an hour and a half every day was getting to wear me down. So I left school, worked, I'd say about 15 years in the construction field. And unfortunately, I became very addicted to alcohol. I ended up being court ordered to enroll at the Winslow Guidance Associates in Winslow, Arizona. I finished treatment there, and I was hired and becoming a program manager. When my son was born, I looked at him and how precious this life is. And want to provide a good living for my son requires me to go back to school. I'm studying to become a licensed independent substance abuse counselor. I'm getting the education that I need now from online learning. I can go to work and go to school at the same time. It has been hard. It has been rough. From my past experiences of letting opportunities pass by, this is one I did not want to let pass by. Great things do happen. And this school is like one of the great things that has happened for me.
Thank you. It was a great visit. And of course, this was a testament and testimony to the great work that we all do in the Maricopa Community Colleges. And we certainly couldn't do it without the support of the board, the chancellor, Dr. Maria Harper Marinick, and all of my colleagues in our community. So thank you very much.
Also nice to note that the richest man in the world doesn't have to wear a suit and tie.
Oh, but if he wore a tie, he'd go places.
Congratulations, Rio. That was, I was at, I forget which meeting I was at here recently where all colleges from around the country were attending, and Rio's name came up on a fairly regular basis, and more because they realized it was part of our district. It was great to hear. Thank you. Moving on to external community reports, the Association of District Governing Boards. Mr. Burke.
We meet again on December 5.
Thank you. And Mr. Lum for the ASBA.
Well, I didn't attend, they had the law conference, I wasn't able to go. But I'd like to encourage the new board members and all the board members to be active in the Arizona School Board Association, and I hope someone can take over reporting about them, Ms. Livingston. And because I think our association with them, it's a chance for us to talk to other high school and elementary board members. It's a chance for us to talk to other superintendents, and I think this linkage of us being involved with them helps us in many ways. It makes us a better college.
Thank you. And on behalf of the Arizona Association of Community College Trustees, we have our legislative conference coming up in February. One of the things that we'll be working with are not just our legislative friends up there, but more importantly, members from the Department of Education and other elements of Washington who provide our students with funding for college, as well as funding for special projects and so forth that we need to take better advantage of and get to the people that actually make those decisions. So I'm looking forward to that. And finally, we have our government relations guru, Ms. Dawn Wallace, to bring us up to date on what's happening and going to happen in this next upcoming legislative session.
Mr. President, members of the Governing Board, Chancellor, members of CEC, and all the guests here this evening. Having a little bit of a technical glitch here, but I am going to talk with you a little bit tonight about the impact of the November 4th elections, talk a little bit about what's happening in our statewide offices, at the state legislature, and with the new Congress coming in January. I can start by saying that our statewide offices are were selected for governor. We have the former treasurer, or the current treasurer. Thank you. These are the victors of November 4th elections. Governor-elect Doug Ducey is our current treasurer. The new Secretary of State, Michelle Reagan, is a former or current state senator representing Scottsdale, Fountain Hills, and parts of Paradise Valley, I think. Our new Attorney General, Mark Brnovich, he was a former county attorney, assistant attorney general, and actually director of the Arizona Department of Gaming, which is kind of an interesting career path. We have our state treasurer, Jeff DeWitt. Mr. DeWitt is actually from the private sector. His business is securities trading and fits kind of well with the treasurer's responsibilities. And finally, our superintendent of public instruction, Ms. Douglas, is a former Peoria School Board member and has quite a lot of responsibilities coming up. Probably our closest agency that we work with is the Department of Education, so it's an important relationship for us to cultivate. The November 4th elections also settled the state Senate. The numbers have not significantly changed. There's still 17 Republicans and 13 Democrats. President Biggs retained his presidency, but we did see a new majority leader with retirement of Senator McComish, Senator Yarborough. He represents Queen Creek. Chandler is a very good friend to Chandler Gilbert Community College. Gail Griffin, who was the previous president pro tem, is now the majority whip. Minority leadership has significantly altered. We have Senator Hobbs, represents Central Phoenix, is our minority leader. Senator Farley from Southern Arizona is the assistant minority leader. Kind of unprecedented, there are two whips in the minority caucus, Mr. Contreras and Mr. Quezada. You will see that the bolded names are individuals who are new to the Senate All but one are actually members of the House who came over to the Senate. That's the effective term limits. You can go back and forth for 8 years each. There's one individual who is new this year, but not new to the Senate. Senator-elect Sylvia Allen was previously in the Senate, and she replaces the late Chester Crandall. That's the district she supports. Moving on to the Arizona House of Representatives, forgive me, there's 60 members, so it's kind of hard. But certainly in the House of Representatives, we did see much more significant changes. The Republicans picked up a seat, so they're now 36, and Democrats are 24. Our leadership in the Majority Caucus is Speaker-elect David Gowan, who represents Southern Arizona. He was the Majority Leader last year. We have Representative Steve Montenegro, who is now Majority Leader. Mr. Livingston is the whip for the Majority Caucus. In the Minority Caucus, we see Dr. Eric Meyer, who represents Central Phoenix. He's the new Minority Leader. Mr. Wheeler, who represents Southern Arizona. And Rebecca Rios, who is not really a stranger to the legislature. She was the Senate Minority Leader when she left, and now she's back in another leadership position in the House. You can see also the bolded names are all the freshmen, and that represents about 30% of the membership in the House. So if you have 30% of your members who are new, you're spending a considerable amount of time getting them up to speed on what needs to happen as part of the legislative process. So earlier this month, both the House and the Senate released their chairmanships, their committees and their chairmanships. In the Senate, there are 16 committees. Every Republican in the Senate, except for Senator Yarborough, has a committee chairmanship. So you'll see that I've highlighted appropriations, education, commerce, public safety, and rules. These are the committees that primarily impact us in legislation or in budget process. In the House, there are 19 committees where every incumbent Republican has a chairmanship except for Representative Mesnard and Representative Lobis. Like I said, I bolded the committees that are important to us in the House. The Government and Higher Education Committee, chaired by Representative Thorpe, will impact us because that's where our bills will go if they do affect us. It's kind of an unprecedented committee. Generally, we're attached to economic development or workforce development, but this time we've been attached to government. You know, it's hard to tell why, but it's what we have to work with this year. In education, we have Representative Boyer, who's actually a alum of Paradise Valley Community College, so that's a really good relationship to have. Appropriations, we have Representative Olson, who is our supporter via Mesa Community College, and he sits on the development board there. So as you can see, we have done very well this year in terms of relationships with members who are going to decide what happens to us from a legislative process. Now, I don't have the full committees because they haven't been released, but what's equally important is who the vice chairmen are, because they tend to take over during the absences of the chairman, and they eventually evolve into the actual chairman. So it's kind of important to see what the makeup will be of each committee. On a federal level, all of the incumbents won their seats with the exception of CD2, where we're currently where the results are uncertain because of a recount that's going to happen after the canvassing next week. And we're in CD7, Congressman-elect Gallego, who's a former state representative, comfortably won his seat. So the biggest sort of story of the federal elections was the balance of power in the Senate, leaving the next term, the next session, as a Republican-controlled Congress. Hopefully that will create the inspiration to compromise, or it'll create gridlock. It's hard to tell at this point, but I think both sides are talking, quite optimistically about what can happen over the next 2 years. We also know that the 113th Congress needs to pass a continuing resolution to keep government going, and they need to do that by December 11th. To put that into perspective, that's actually about 10 working days. So while it's hard to believe that government will shut down, it's hard to believe that in 10 working days something will happen in terms of a continuing resolution. So we continue to watch this very carefully. Members of the congressional delegation achieved some level of leadership with these elections. Congresswoman Sinema is now one of 7 whips in the House. Congressman Grijalva is the ranking member of Committee on Natural Resources, and Senator McCain is likely to be the next chairman of Armed Services. So that, provides us some entree at the federal level with persons who are in some position of influence. So as we visit with all of our Arizona delegation in district and in DC, we hope to sort of increase our visibility and be able to influence. There's some notion of earmarks coming back, not called earmarks, but I don't know, congressional appropriations or something. So it's really important for us to start to develop increasingly more familiar relationships with our delegation. The last time I was up here, Mrs. Pearson asked about the Higher Education Act, and the last time it was reauthorized was in 2008. A week ago, Senator Harkin actually introduced his draft of that bill. It was a bit of a surprise to folks on the Hill as he's retiring, and so there's not really much that can happen with his bill because he's not going to be here. It was an 800-page bill that had a lot of good provisions that we would support. And so we're hoping that this will be somewhat of a template for what might come in the next congressional session. The County Board of Supervisors are consistent, District 1, 2, and 3. District 4, Mr. Hickman won his election, and Mr. Gallardo as well. Mr. Gallardo and Maricopa have a long-standing relationship, so we hope to cultivate some more relationships with the County Board of Supervisors. The Maricopa Integrated Health System bond passed by 63%, which is pretty good. The state ballot propositions, 122, was approved. 303 had a 70% passage rate. And not surprisingly, the increase to legislative salaries was rejected by the voters. And last time I was here, I had a lot of pictures of a lot of events that included our government, our public elected officials. This month I only have one, but it's a wonderful event to be able to showcase the 50th anniversary gala at Glendale Community College. You look lovely in these pictures, President. But we have Mr. Lum and Senator-elect Martine Quezada, who's also been a great friend to Maricopa and been very supportive. And of course, we have President Kovala with 2 of our newest governing board members, Ms. McGrath and Ms. Haver. And with that, I am very, very happy to answer any questions. Thank you for the opportunity to appear in front of you tonight.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Thank you, Donna. Upcoming meetings on December 4th, we have a couple of them. We have the Budget Committee meeting, and we also have our board orientation. On December 9th, we'll have our regular board meeting. Remember that we're not going to have 2 meetings in December because of the holidays. So December 9th will be the regularly scheduled board meeting. With that, all business is complete. This meeting is adjourned.